It's been nearly 3 months since Modern Warfare Zombies was released, so is this as bad as people thought it was going to be? Or is it a surprisingly fresh take on zombies? And what does all of it mean for the future of zombies? All of these questions and more here on the 7th episode of the Mystery Box Podcast. Good morning, you beautiful people. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day today. Welcome to the highly anticipated 7th episode of the Mystery Box Podcast. I'll be honest, before Modern Warfare 3 Zombies was released, I was not anticipating having this podcast episode up so late. We are most of the way through season 1. Season 2 is like a week away or something ridiculous like that. So I figure let's talk about everything and anything Modern Warfare Zombies. So whether you're on your way to work or on your way to school or just playing zombies yourself, feel free to kick this on and listen to this podcast. I think it's safe to say that we're out of the honeymoon phase of Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. I know for me personally, that honeymoon phase lasted quite some time, a lot longer than the previous zombie installments. Granted, it was, Vanguard, which was Vanguard, and then Cold War Zombies, which only had one map to it. There's a lot more content to do here in Modern Warfare Zombies, but now I feel like I kind of have a good grip on reality and really what is good and bad about the mode, and we can kind of discuss it freely. So without all that being said, in terms of the first question we're answering today is this a good game, a flop, or is it something that we want to invest in the future? I think I could say safely, outside of the honeymoon phase here, I am pleasantly surprised with Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. And while I feel kind of in the minority there, I actually don't think that's that much of an unpopular opinion. I think, a lot of the hardcore community loves the round base, love the classic zombies, but I think when you look at what the kind of narrative was before this game was released, everyone thought, oh, this is Vanguard 2.0. What the heck? There's bots in this. There's real soldiers. It's just on the Warzone map. Like all of this negativity and hate before the game came out. The game comes out, and I think a majority of the people kind of ate their own words. I think they were like, oh, wow, this is actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought, this is going to be this, and it actually turns out to be pretty well made and well done. And I think that's a net positive here. I think that was the biggest takeaway, at least of the launch of the game, that I took away, that like, yes, this is a format of zombies. This extraction shooter can really work pretty well, especially with the Cold War sandbox. And I'm going to call it that here in this video, the Cold War sandbox, like the perk system, field upgrades, gunsmith and perks and all that stuff. So the sandbox almost, I would argue, this might be weird, I would argue the Cold War sandbox, those mechanics actually work better in this sort of extraction shooter than they did in round-based zombies. It feels like it was made for this type of game, and I feel like the game's really well balanced, and we'll get to that later. But yeah, I'm really surprised by the positive reception of Modern Warfare Zombies. Now, all of that being said, we are definitely out of the honeymoon phase, and that sort of net positivity that we were hearing a lot of at launch and even at Season 1. Season 1 kind of started turning things around a little bit, and the negativity started to creep in a little bit here. And there is kind of not an overpowering narrative, but there's a subtle narrative, maybe not so subtle narrative going on, that, they need to add more content. The stash size is this. They hate solo players, and there's just more of these little kind of really, I would say perhaps doomsday would be the right word. Like there's this doomsday negativity going on right now. Oh my goodness. We just got news that rumored, allegedly, Treyarch is no longer working on this game. It's like Infinity Ward or Sledgehammer or Raven or somebody else. And I think it might be Raven, not Sledgehammer, because of the recent layoffs, and 2024 is coming out soon. It's this year, 2024. Hey, it's 2024. First podcast of the year. But with that, a lot of people are like, oh my goodness, they're abandoning it. And I just, there's like 5 more seasons worth of content they've got to pump out with this zombie. I don't think they're abandoning it. I think that's just kind of a weird thing to say, especially when you look at this game. Remember, we were talking about this game being like, oh, this is just Modern Warfare 2, part 2, year 2. Like, I'm sure they have content laid out for this game for a good couple months here. And with all this negativity, I feel like it's pretty easy to not necessarily forget, but kind of get used to the positives about the game. Like the freshness of it all is kind of worn out. It doesn't mean it's gone away, but when they make little changes like, nerfing decoys for 2 seconds, people kind of lose their minds for some reason. Even though the decoys worked perfectly fine, they're buffed now. It's okay. Treyarch doesn't hate solo players. That's kind of a weird thing to say. But overall, I feel like the general reception of Modern Warfare 3 is a lot more positive and a lot more bright in terms of what is possible with this mode than anyone really thought, except for maybe yours truly. I kind of a little bit happy, a little bit I told you so. I was making videos going, hey guys, this could be pretty fun. But I was kind of right. So, hey, I'll take that down as a W for me. Now, it's not good, and something that is, I believe, still worthy of mentioning, even though I feel like this problem has gone away mostly. The biggest problem I think most of us have with Modern Warfare Zombies is not the stash size, it's not the balance. It is the game stability. Now, those of us who have played Black Ops 4 and experienced the Black Ops 4 launch cycle and even the Cold War launch cycle, we are no strangers to crashes and game crashes and bugs and glitches and all this sort of stuff. And to be honest, Modern Warfare Zombies, at least for me, definitely felt more, not necessarily glitchy, but it crashed a lot more than any other game. I crashed a lot more in Modern Warfare Zombies than any other zombies before. I didn't crash all that much in Black Ops 4. I know it's a weird thing to say. I think I crashed like once or twice, and I was playing like public match rush modes, and not normal gameplay. But anyway, the reason I think it's worth talking about crashing here in Modern Warfare Zombies is due to the nature of the game mode. It is an extraction shooter, which means that if you die, you lose everything. If you gear up and you go in a game and you're going to have this amazing Dark Aether run, Elder Dark Aether run, you're going to fight the big worm at the end, and you die or you crash, then all of that stuff outside of your control is gone. So even if the crashing is like 99% solved, the fact that there's that 1% in there, it's going to rile people up, and it's going to be really big negative feedback and all that stuff. But I could say ever since the first nerf to the exfil, a spawn rate for the zombies, unfortunately, dang it, those were fun spawn rates. Ever since that first nerf to that, I've crashed, I think, one time, and that's just it. And I know other people, other colleagues of mine, I think Jason H Gaming used to have this horrible crashing problem. I did a live stream with him where he tried to get a gun gold in a game, and he crashed like 3 or 4 games in a row. I never did, but he did. He had like the worst time with it. And finally, I think around Season 1 or some weird update in between Season 1 and Season 1 Reloaded, he finally got some magic patch that like fixed whatever was crashing for him, and everything worked, and now he's, I think, having an enjoyable time with Modern Warfare Zombies and not crashing anymore. So I think they fixed a lot of the crashes, a lot of the bugs, but there's still a lot in there, still a lot of bugs in there, and crashes. The server instability is a little weird. The packet loss is very concerning, always gives me a heart attack, especially when you're in tier 3 and everything like just freezes. Definitely something to look into, but I think they're pushing the engine or the whatever servers that you call them. I think they're really pushing it because they're like tweaking zombie spawns here, tweaking zombie spawns there. I can kind of feel like the engine rushing quite a bit to keep up, and I don't know if that's just because it's the PC or the servers or they're trying to do it with Xbox. I don't know the technical stuff, but definitely important to get those crashes under control. Now, the fun stuff, the actual gameplay of this mode, I think is really good. Before this game came out, the thought of a DMZ and Zombies crossover was always really intriguing to me. I always thought there was a little bit of overlap where those two game modes had similar design philosophies that they could benefit from each other. They're both ideas where you spawn in game and you start from nothing, and then you gain perks and power-ups and stronger abilities to take on bigger and better challenges. And I think that formula really works well for a zombies mode, and I think it's really fun for a zombies mode. Now, I think there's some minor balancing tweaks and maybe some major balancing tweaks that we can put into consideration here, because with DMZ, I noticed this too, especially about the stash, and believe me, we'll get to the stash. You weren't really extracting with that many items, whereas you look at Modern Warfare Zombies, you can extract with perks, pack-punch crystals, ether tools, ammo mods, all of these different things, wonder weapons. But DMZ really didn't have all that stuff. You had like keys, documents, and that's basically it, and some craftables for later down the line, I believe. And this entire mode, I think, is a lot better designed than it gets credit for. I think the gameplay loop is really tight. There's this kind of tension between you want to start and spawn with a whole bunch of really cool things, but also you don't want to do that too often because you do want that zombies progression. Now, of course, everybody right now, the hot topic is like the Tombstone glitching, and you just spawn in with all the best stuff, and that's how people want to play. They want to have all the best stuff all the time. But I genuinely believe, and I know this to kind of be true, if you do that enough times, you'll start to get bored and you won't have that progression to go through. The progression of this game is really fun because it's the progression of zombies, and that's what makes zombies fun in the first place. It's the starting from nothing to getting everything. Now, of course, that gets talk with the timer and extending the timer and all that stuff. We'll talk about that later too. But for the general gameplay, when I first experienced this, and I think I had this moment on the live stream as well, when I played my first game. Of course, you play your first game, you just stick to tier 1, you maybe go into tier 2, you get a little bit afraid of tier 2 because, oh my goodness, it's so much stronger. And when I did that, you've got your pack-a-punch, you got your perks, you're getting rewards from your contracts, and then I believe I got, I exfilled with maybe like a perk or something, or I got the pack 1 schematic in one of my first games. I know I had crazy luck. I had crazy luck back in the day too when this game first came out. But I believe I got the pack 1 schematic from a tier 2 contract, and I exfilled with it, and I went to that menu and I crafted it, and I was like, oh, and it like clicked with me. I was like, this is the gameplay loop right here. you extract schematics and loot, and then you can craft it and go back in and get ahead. Now I don't need to sit in tier 1. I probably still could, but I'm not going to sit in tier 1. I'm going to go straight to tier 2, getting more points, getting more perks, getting more rewards, and all of that stuff. And what do you know, that power progression is no longer just one game of zombies, and it's no longer just the one tier of Modern Warfare Zombies. It's going across the whole entire game of Modern Warfare Zombies. Now, if you keep that way going, if you keep your character alive and you don't die, then you can get to tier 3 easy. You can go to the Dark Aether every game, all that sort of fun stuff, at least in theory, because this game is very weird about its rewards, I feel, and I think everybody else feels. The rewards are a little weird. The game does a phenomenal job at pushing you away from tier 1 into tier 2. And you can kind of keep yourself sustained game after game. Even if you don't really do anything super productive, you can extract with like a PAP 1 crystal every game or some perks every game, and you can jump right back into tier 2. There's really not a lot of situations, unless you just died or you're starting a new character, where you're going to sit in tier 1. But the problem becomes when you try to transition, especially when you have no schematics or anything, when you try to transition from tier 2 into tier 3. That's the hard one. That's the one that I really don't have a solid piece of advice for. When I was first making my how to survive tier 3 video, I was thinking like, oh, what's the best way? And yes, technically you could get enough points for tier 3 Pack-a-Punch with a blue rarity weapon, and that works fairly well, and you could do some contracts and whatever. But in terms of loot, it kind of stops at like Pack 1 Pack-a-Punch and blue Ether Tool. There's not that commonality of a tier 2 Pack-a-Punch or even the purple, what do you call it, epic rarity Ether Tool. And I thought this was a problem all the way back before season 1. In the preseason, I thought this was a problem, but then they released the Dark Aether in season 1. And in that, especially with one of those updates, it was before the Reloaded update, they buffed the loot in the Dark Aether. And the Dark Aether had, at least in my runs, it had a decent-ish chance. I felt like it had a good chance of giving you some obviously classified loot, which is awesome, the golden armor and dog bone and whatever, but also it had a good chance of getting legendary ether tools and PAP crystals and a lot of that more high-end rewards that we all want to receive. But then the problem is the tier 3 rewards feel like they're lost in this limbo state where they sometimes give out purple epic ether tools, they sometimes give out double Pack-a-Punch crystals, but there's really not enough, consistently enough, to keep you balanced in that tier 3 area. Now, that very well may be by choice, by design, because and that might be a weird thing for you to think about. Why would Treyarch design it in such a way to keep you out of tier 1, but then also not in tier 3 all the time? Even though I think that's kind of like the fun of the mode, is to keep yourself sustained until you die or make a mistake or don't get the loot that you need. But the reason would be, is pretty simple, and I think we kind of lost track of this here in the last couple weeks, months. It's that it's not always fun to be the most suited up, geared up that you can be at all times. It's the same reason that when you exfil, you lose your Pack-a-Punch and you lose your weapon rarity. It's because if you're able to spawn in with a tier 3 golden or legendary Pack-a-Punch, or yeah, legendary rarity triple Pack-a-Punch weapon in every single game, then there really wouldn't be any more challenge. I know that sounds weird. I really do. I know that sounds weird, especially right now, but I remember before, just 3 months ago, when this game was announced and everybody was talking about it, everybody was like, dude, zombies as an extraction thing, we're going to be able to extract golden Pack-a-Punch 3 weapons, and we're going to start super powerful, and it's not going to be fun. That's not what zombies is. Zombies is about the progression, and I want to progress every game. I want to start with nothing, and I want to get all my stuff. But then here comes Modern Warfare Zombies, and all of a sudden, everybody really wants their Pack-a-Punch 3, their legendary tools, and all this stuff at the start of the game. So it's that kind of balance where I hope people recognize what that, it's not necessarily a grind, or they don't want you to rely on RNG or anything. It's really just that progression. And I think that progression is really well done, except for ether tools. You see, there's another common argument against Modern Warfare Zombies, and that argument is, oh my goodness, it's incredibly RNG, random. It's random rewards you get if you go to the Dark Aether or not. It's random because you don't know if you're going to get a sigil, you don't know if you're going to get a tier 2 Pack-a-Punch, you don't know if you're going to get a legendary ether tool. But realistically speaking, there's a lot of things that Treyarch did and does, or whether they're working on it or not, has done for this game mode to minimize the RNG. Think about all of the items, all of the rewards that you could get in Modern Warfare Zombies. First and foremost, the Pack-a-Punch. That's really easy. You could get that every single game, no matter what. It's just points. And then you think about like ammo mods. Oh, ammo mods are in Ethernests. Every single one of them, guaranteed ammo mod. What else do we got? Kill streaks. You can get them from buy stations, self revives, buy stations, gas mask, buy stations, 3-plate armor vest, large backpack, buy stations, all with points if you want to. That's just one avenue you can go down. So really everything you can buy or get fairly consistently, except for ether tools. That being said, there are certain ways you can get better odds at them dropping. The ether orbs in tier 3, and especially the dark ether, I have found drop legendary ether tools and epic ether tools fairly consistently. So yes, technically it's still RNG, but it's really not as egregious. And of course, once you get the schematics for these things, I mean, the legendary schematic, the legendary ether tool schematic, I got it from fighting the worm. It's a 24-hour cooldown, and we'll talk about cooldowns, but that's like awesome because that means every single day you can just have a legendary ether tool. And if you have a game where you don't really want to use the legendary ether tool, you can just craft it and put it in your stash. Like, that's awesome, and that minimizes that RNG. Now, in order to get the schematic, you need to fight the red worm, and of course, well, no, actually, you don't even need, I would argue, and because I've done this before, you don't need great loot in order to fight the ether worm if you are fighting it with a good squad. If you have a 3 or more people, you can take down the worm fairly easily and consistently too. And once you do that a couple times, you're going to get either the Pack-a-Punch or the Scorcher or the legendary ether tool. And with that, then you're pretty much set for those high tier ones. You've minimized that RNG very well. Now, for as positive as that outlook may be for me to say, I did make that video saying, hey, can we even find a legendary ether tool in Modern Warfare Zombies if we play a game? And I looted, I did tier 3 contracts, I went to the Dark Aether, I looted the Dark Aether, I killed the Abomination and the Ether Orb and all that good stuff, and I just didn't find one. And I gotta be honest, Treyarch, sometimes that does suck. Sometimes it sucks to be like, I want to find this one thing because it's really the only thing. The legendary and epic ether tools are the only thing that you really can't rely on dropping in any given zombie game. Even the epic ones aren't super common. But I don't think the solution is just to like buff the reward contracts. At least I don't think. Maybe actually for a little bit, yeah, absolutely. I think Pack-a-Punch 2 and the epic ether tool crystals, or epic ether tools in the Pack 2 crystals should be fairly common in the tier 3 area. I think that should separate it definitely from tier 2. I feel like there's not enough of that in the tier 3 area. Epic, I feel like that's not as strong as legendary, so it's a fair way to keep people in that tier 3 area. If you have the legendary schematic, it's probably not super useful, but it's nice to have. I feel like it's a good balance because then you have your dark ether area. It's super intense, super hard, only 3 contracts. You can get your legendary tools, your contract stuff out of there, or classified stuff out of there. I feel like that would be a good balance. Speaking of balance, I think this mode for solo players, surprisingly balanced, surprisingly really well balanced. I know I've seen that, Treyarch hates solo players. This is not a solo friendly mode. I highly disagree. I don't think there's anything other than the tier 3 Dark Aether escort contract and maybe the red worm. I have to play it again after season 1 reloaded. Maybe the Ether Storm worm. Maybe those 2 things aren't necessarily solo friendly. Everything else I've been able to do solo multiple times fairly easily. Outlast contracts, tier 3 HVTs, all the story missions, the Act 4 story mission with that worm, I've been able to do that multiple times with different guns and survive and do it really easily now that it's nerfed a little bit. I really like this game solo, but when you do have those things where you need more than one player to play, like the escort contract in the Elder Dark Aether, I'm calling it, or the red worm boss fight, which is pretty hard to do if you're just kind of not necessarily a zombies master, if you're just kind of a maybe average, maybe slightly below average zombie player, those things can be frustrating to do with players as well. That being said, I do love the escort. I want to mention this because I don't want them to nerf the escort missions with like less zombies or something, because they already massacred the Outlast contracts and the raid weapon stash contracts. I don't want to see the same thing happen with the escort contract. I love how many zombies spawn in with the escort contract. I want to keep that there. What I do want to see is more ingenuity, like the VR11 healing the escort. I would love to see like healing aura heal the escort or the ACV a little bit. I'd love to see more things other than the VR11 heal that thing. That would be so cool. I would love to see that, and that would be really cool. Part of building up that sandbox. I think that would be really nice. Now, I don't think it's any surprise that this is very doable solo, because when the game first came out, it felt very difficult solo. And that's not just because we got used to it and oh my goodness, we were just overreacting before. No, they nerfed Mercenaries. They don't shred your armor like they used to at first launch, so they're actually doable without a team now, which is fantastic. They nerfed, like I said, heavily nerfed the Outlast and Raid Weapon Stash contracts. It's unfortunate, but that's what they did. I want them to return those zombies to those contracts. I would love to see that, but they have tweaked it so that it's a little bit more solo friendly. That being said, I have to give you a hard time, Treyarch or Sledgehammer or whoever's working on this, because have you tried playing zombies in a public match? It's the worst way to play zombies. It's just agonizing. Even like any little discrepancy of what you want to do, it could be horrible. So first of all, I guess I should say thank you for giving us the option to leave our squad here in Season 1 Reloaded. One of the best changes ever. Absolutely love it. However, the whole concept of this mode is kind of not really good in terms of a cooperative experience. Don't get me wrong. 95% of my interactions with players is positive. 99% we're picking each other up. Well, I'm picking them up. But they're giving stuff away. They're meeting here and doing this. They're going for the red worm too, so let's do that. It's a positive experience. You see them in the cargo contract getting shot by the helicopters. It's cinematic. It's fun. I love seeing other people. They're parachuting off of stuff. They're helping you with your escort mission. It's really cool. They're helping you with the mega abominations. It's a cool, positive experience 95% of the time. But unless you spawn in with randoms and they have no idea what they want to do, and they have no idea how to play, and they have no idea what they're doing, I cannot see a world where you thought that people were going to be grinding out schematics and doing this thing not solo and just with randoms. Like, with your friends is one thing. Like, playing this game with your friends is really, really fun. But playing any game with your friends is really, really fun. So to base a whole game about having to play with your friends is really detrimental to solo players. And I think Zombies, for its entirety, even though it's been a co-op mode, I think most of the time people play solo. And most of the time, when you play randoms and zombies, it's horrible. It's absolutely terrible. Back to the Shangri-La days where nobody would stand on the pressure plates in order to unlock Pack-a-Punch. You know, randoms and public matches just don't work. So I think moving forward, what I would ask you is really balance this game mode for solo. I can't see a reality where something comes out like it's like raids from Modern Warfare 2, and you have to squad up and you have to do this. I can't see that being super successful. I can't see that being, oh my goodness, this is the next best thing. This is what we need more of in Call of Duty. I just, unless there's some analytics that you guys don't have, but even then, to gatekeep that with different players, and it's just hard because not everybody has friends. Not everybody has friends who want to play zombies. Not everybody has friends who wants to play this zombies. Not everybody has friends that they can gear up even if they start to play zombies, because if you play with somebody who is not on your same skill level, you have to give them tier 3 Pack-a-Punch and Legendary Aether tool, and you have to set them up, and it's just this big ordeal. I remember when I tried to play this cooperatively with a group of people, randoms, and all I did was just go into tier 2, and they were throwing a fit. They like it was like the first month of the game out. They didn't know what was going on. They got downed all the time, and they eventually just left me because they're like, we're not doing tier 2. But because you were stuck in the same lobby at the same time, or the same squad at the same time, I couldn't leave the squad, and so they were just doing contracts, and I was just stuck doing my own thing somewhere else. So I had to go pair up with them and kind of just waste my time with them because our goals aren't aligned. When you're in the pre-game lobby, you can't talk to one another. At least I've never had anybody talk to me in the pre-game lobby and go, hey, what do you want to do this game? Hey, I was actually going to do this. Actually, no, I'm going to back out and find someone else. Like, there's no pre-game huddle to see if you're all on the same page. Hey, do you guys have this? What are you guys loading in with? What do you guys want to do? There's none of that. Even in traditional zombies, you would squad up with people and you would have to ready up on the same squad. And I think even that little addition could be beneficial. So that way, even if it is randoms, they could still be somewhat on the same team and somewhat on, at least you're not bringing in your good stuff only for your team members to stay in tier 1 and then ruin all of your like tier 3 legendary Pack-a-Punch stuff. Oh, and don't even talk about doing like the worms or the Dark Aether or the Elder Dark Aether. Forget about it. You're not taking randoms in there. So really, you're funneling people to either have friends who want to play zombies at a high skill level, because those high skill things, the Elder Dark Aether, the worm, you don't want just like random friends who are sort of into zombies. You want people who are into zombies who can help you get that done. And if you don't have that, you're playing solo. So I would highly encourage and highly hope that we continue this process of balancing Modern Warfare Zombies for the solo players. But then when you do pair up, it's a little bit more fun, a little bit more easy for those players. I would love it if that was the philosophy that we had moving forward. And as we start to talk about the opportunities that we have here in Modern Warfare Zombies, I have to point out Mercenaries, because Mercenaries, I have to praise it. We have to acknowledge it. they're not as bad as we thought they were going to be. Let's be honest, it's pretty cool how they're implemented. Like the specific contracts, great, awesome, keep them over there. The little camps and the strongholds, great, they have a purpose, they're part of the gameplay, whatever. And then the story missions, cool. You don't need to interact with them unless you're doing any one of those things. Like obviously if you like drive by one of the camps, they'll shoot at you and you have the convoy going around, always going after me and everything. But honestly, they're really well balanced. And I said it in a video, I really like just like the grunts, and then you have armored soldiers and then heavily armored soldiers and elites, and you have your different like rocket launcher guys and your sniper guys. I really like that. And I think they could use that sort of style and variety in the campaign missions. And I know they had like a sniper in the campaign, and maybe they had something else too, like a riot shield guy. Yeah, the riot shield guy, great for campaign, not so much for zombies. I can't tell you. And I don't know if this is true or not. Maybe, in fact, I know it's not true. Whenever I need a contract, whenever I'm trying to do contracts all quick, everywhere around me, there's just defend the ground station contracts. And I'm like, nobody's picking up these contracts. Nobody's doing defend the ground station contracts. So if we could just tweak that a little bit, kind of make those defend the ground station contracts be a little more rare, that'd be awesome. If we could up the outlast contracts, if we could up the raid weapon stash, the cargoes, the escort contracts, that'd be great, you know. Or if the defend the ground station contract just had zombies in it, no mercenaries, that'd be even better. That'd be awesome. If we could do that, that'd be great. I know we worked really hard on the mercenaries and they're really well done, but they're just not fun, I guess. You know, in the zombies mode, they're not fun. I don't know. I've never gone out of my way to go, yeah, I want to interact with that sandbox right now, because when I play zombies, I want to shoot zombies. I want to horde up zombies. I want to train zombies. And then you have the ether extractors in the Dark Aether. And it's one of the most intense things ever, because you got bosses and all these things right there. And you could have that. And that's a whole other contract you could have that people are doing and rotating around, that because nobody's touching the ether extractors now. But you could have that if they were all zombies. So I'm just going to say my piece. They're really well done. I'm not saying that it's bad, not saying that it's horrible. It's the worst thing about the game whatsoever. But it's a branch of the game that I don't touch, that I feel like is everywhere. There's defend the ground stations, there's ether extractors everywhere. If we could tweak those down, change them around a little bit, that'd be great. And now we need to talk about some more philosophical things here, because the time limit has been something that I've gone back and forth on, and I, for the life of me, can't figure out a definitive reason of why it's in there in the first place. I don't know. So if anybody from Treyarch or Sledgehammer or Infinity Ward or Raven can explain this to me in terms of like a game design perspective, I don't know why the 45-minute timer is the way it is, you know? On some like level I do, in terms of like video game logic I do, because like, you know, it pushes you out so you have to exfil, so it keeps you in the gameplay loop. But in terms of after that, aside from that really obvious kind of video gamey point, what's the point of it? What benefit does it add to the gameplay? Especially because we don't exfil with our rarity of our weapon and our pack-a-punch of our weapon and our perks of our character. Forcing us to reset that causes people to want a tombstone glitch, causes people to go, well, I don't have enough time for this, so I can't do that, so, you know, whatever. Now, I like it because it does create those decisions. I do like, and that's what I have figured out, it's a little bit of a strategy and a skill to go, hey, I'm not going to use this ether tool just yet, I'm going to save it for the next game. But apart from that, I don't quite know why it's there. Like if I had to explain to my friend, because somebody asked me, someone's like, hey, why is the timer 45 minutes? I had to go, well, it's because, well, I don't know. It's just because you can't play forever. And I don't necessarily even have a problem with the timer whatsoever, but there have been times where you're in a groove and you're grinding, you're doing contracts, you're looking for a schematic, you're having fun in tier 3, you're having fun going back to tier 2, whatever. And then the game just is like, all right, that's it. No more fun for you. You just got to go back and come back in and kind of regain all of your stuff again. And that's just kind of meh, you know? Like, it's not horrible. Like, I don't think, some people are like, oh my goodness, it's the worst thing ever. But like, it's just kind of weird to me. Like, and I can't figure out why. So if anybody could help me out with that, that'd be awesome. And what kind of sucks now is if they extend the timer at all, or if they get rid of the timer, which they're not going to do, but if they extend the timer, it's kind of going to be a double-edged sword, because yeah, we get more time, but also the ether storm worm relies on you getting to the end of that 45 minutes. So if we're going to extend the time 15 minutes, half an hour, that's 15 minutes or half an hour more that somebody's going to have to wait in order to fight the ether storm worm, which is probably pretty annoying. And this is where a lot of people say, hey, just get rid of the timer. I want an endless mode. I kind of want it to be like round based where it gets harder and, the tier 3 area expands and then you could just survive for whatever. And that would be a pretty cool mode. That would be pretty fun. But I think the reason that isn't a thing, and I think I just thought of this right now, actually I thought of it before, but I just remembered it right now. It might be kind of like a memory reason, like how this could be completely off, but in terms of programming, isn't it true that the longer the game goes, the more memory it's using on the server, so it has to kick you out every hour, so that way it refreshes the map and resets the memory? I think that's the case because I remember an interview with Jason Blundell, I think it was on Zombros podcast, talking about how the RAM is super sensitive and they cram the RAM. So like even adding a weapon to the mystery box is like more RAM. So if people are doing all these things, completing all these contracts, putting stuff on the ground, loot there, contract rewards here, it's just more and more RAM. So that might be the technical reason of the 45-minute timer. Hey, that's the longest we can go before the RAM gets full or the memory gets full. We got to reset the map and get everything back to zero. But in terms of a practical gameplay purpose, I mean, your guess is as good as mine. And no, it's not because, they just want you to do this and do that. There's got to be some logistical reason, because DMZ did it too, right? DMZ is a similar thing. But DMZ didn't wipe your progress after you exfilled, at least not all of it. It did some things, but not to the degree that Modern Warfare 3 Zombies does. So I've been trying to search for this answer for so long, and I just can't figure it out. I think it does a great job of providing you, like I said earlier, with the resources of here's the ether tools and the crystals and all that stuff. That's really fun to get set back up and go jump right back into the action. But in terms of like satisfaction on the player's end, it kind of just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Something that used to make a lot of sense to me, but now increasingly doesn't make sense to me, and I kind of want answers for, is the stash limit. The stash limit being 10. This is kind of silly to me. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, oh my goodness, this is kind of silly. Because I get a stash. I get, limiting players, like we've been saying, like we said before the game came out. Zombie players love the progression. Zombie players love that starting from nothing, going to something, which is, by the way, why we don't like the time limit, because we do want to start with nothing, but the 45-minute timer doesn't give us enough time to get something. Also, legendary ether tools aren't craftable. You can't craft them anywhere like you can Pack-a-Punch and all that, but we'll get to that later because I have an idea. But I used to understand the stash. I used to understand, hey, you got a limit. You can't be overpowered all the time. You can't have infinite resources. But now I kind of just want it to be more than 10. And I really don't understand why the number's 10, because DMZ, as we established earlier, you really didn't exfil with all that much stuff. You had like keys and maybe, what else was it? It was like event items or something that you would exfil with, like special items. But in Zombies, you've got 9 different perks, 5 different ammo mods, you've got 4 different ether tools, you've got all of these different wonder weapons, and so many things you can exfil with and so many things you could bring in. And it's kind of like, well, why is our backpack so small? I would love to see like an ether backpack that has like double the amount of a large backpack. That'd be awesome. But also the stash in DMZ, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think I remember playing DMZ when it first launched in November. It had, I believe, 20 stash slots, 20 slots for like keys that I never used. Modern Warfare Zombies has half of those stash spots, and we use like exponentially way more things than we do in DMZ in order to load in. So that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. As I put out in one of my recent videos, I kind of took this to a 180 and I was like, you know what? Let's get rid of the stash altogether. Let's have a similar thing like Gobblegums and Elixirs in the past where it was infinite. You can exfil with them and they're just like in the menu and you just have a counter right next to them and they're counting up and you can get as many as you want. The natural balance of that being the backpack only has like 9 slots in it, so you can only take 9 things at a time. You can only exfil with 9 things at a time. So it's not like you're exfilling with 9 ether tools every game. You're getting like 1 ether tool every game and maybe going in with 1 ether tool every game. So that's the natural balance there. But the one tiny little piece of hope that I have about the stash space, which hopefully by the time this video is up, honestly, we should have the answer to. I'm hoping in season 2, it's really season 2 or season 3, we get passive upgrades. Passive upgrades would fix a lot of things. We'll talk about them later. I got a lot of things to say about passive upgrades in DMZ because I think some people forget how advanced DMZ was after its year, and Modern Warfare Zombies started with a leg up on DMZ. So I'm really excited for the future of Modern Warfare Zombies, but we need to talk about, I'm hoping with passive upgrades, we will get a way to increase our stash slots, whether that's act story missions or it's just separate little missions we do on the side or challenges. I'd love to see it. I hope that happens. I'm like 90% sure that's going to happen. Something that I am overwhelmingly happy with and consistently happy with Modern Warfare Zombies is the Camo Grind. The Camo Grind is as great as I thought it was going to be, and as good as I thought it was going to be way back in that I thought in Modern Warfare 2. When Modern Warfare 2 2022 released and it had its weapon Camo Grind, I said this would be perfect for zombies. And what do you know? It is. I love the fact that it's so easy to rank up weapons. I love how it's so easy to get all of the challenges done and get the gold camos, and you're constantly on this wheel of, oh, I gotta use this gun, this gun, this gun. I gotta go back to these guns, back to these guns. It's so much more engaging. It's so much more fun. You feel like you're progressing so much. I get to play maybe 1, maybe 2 games of Modern Warfare Zombies a day. Not much more than that. Sometimes I can't play at all. So I still feel like I'm making progress on the Camo Grind. I have like all gold SMGs and I'm missing like 1 assault rifle gold. That's fantastic for somebody who can't play that much after a full-time job and I'm making YouTube videos. It's awesome to feel like I'm not behind there. And then once we get that Borealis camo, not only for the like 40 Modern Warfare 3 weapons, there's like 70 something Modern Warfare 2 weapons, and it's a different camo. We are sitting pretty. This is the most like camo grindy content we've ever gotten. I remember back in Vanguard and especially Cold War, again, full-time job, whatever, come home, make YouTube videos. It was a grind. I still haven't finished Vanguard. I luckily finished Cold War, but like Vanguard's weapons with like the 70 weapon levels, oh my goodness. Like it took 3 or 4 like round 50 games, or you could do that round 10 method in Vanguard, which was so boring. It was a grueling grind, but this, even though the weapon XP is capped for some reason, even though that's true, this is still pretty fun. And I think I'm making some progress on some pretty darn good weapon XP videos. You guys get ready because I'm about to crack this thing open. The new meta is coming out for the weapon XP. Now I know I just asked, like, why is the weapon XP capped? But I think the more I think about it, the more I understand why, which could be kind of weird for you guys to hear. But hear me out here, right? And they've also been nerfing weapon XP grinds and weapon XP strategies. You might think, oh my goodness, they hate the fun, they hate this, but hear me out. In 6v6 multiplayer, shipment is nuts, right? You get like 30, 40, 50, 60 kills per game. You get tons of XP, tons of experience, tons of kills. You're grinding out those camos really, really quickly. What that does to the player, what that does is it encourages them, hey, if you want a weapon XP grind, if you want to grind out camos, do it on shipment, because when you play on another map after playing shipment, once you've gotten all of those camos and all that XP, you're like, oh my goodness, that was so fun. You go play a normal map and it's so slow and it's boring and you get like 20 kills and you get like half the weapon levels you would be on shipment, and you're discouraged to play the normal game. And I think if I were a developer, that would be the reason why I cap weapon XP. I think that would be the reason, because when you have something like anything, the spore control, the exfils, all of those things that people are farming for weapon XP, if those things were so powerful, if those things worked so well that, oh my goodness, they got 20 levels in 20 minutes, then that's what people would naturally want to do. Players will optimize the fun out of a video game. That's one of my favorite quotes, Game Maker's Toolkit. Actually, it's a quote from somebody that I saw in a Game Maker's Toolkit video. Hopefully I'll link it here if I remember. Hopefully Editing Donuts remember that. Players will optimize the fun out of a video game. And so the developers want people to engage with the sandbox. They want people to do more than just sit at the expo. They want people to do more than just sit at the spore controls and the Outlast contracts and doing whatever. Now, in terms of getting kills, in terms of like getting all the kills, sure, they're going to have a consistent pace for that. And there's obviously going to be, like the escort stuff, the tier 3 stuff, lots of zombies, great for kills and whatever. But in terms of the XP, they want to limit that progress, not necessarily to kill the fun of the mode, but to allow players to keep playing in a natural way. I really hope that made sense. It makes sense to me because I really do love 6v6 Call of Duty so much, but when I got into my Modern Warfare 2 phase, when I was playing a bunch of Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer, I would play shipment and then I'd go back and I'd play a normal map and it just wouldn't be fun. I'd be discouraged. I didn't make a lot of progress, and I don't want that to happen with zombies. I don't want there to be a strategy that's so good that the rest of the game feels worse because I'm not doing that strategy. And I think from a design perspective, again, I'm sure this is a GMTK quote here, but the developer's job is to protect you from yourself. And I think that leads us perfectly into Tombstone. I'm gonna be honest, a couple of my friends, Beebs, if you all know, Tombstone glitched a little bit. My friend group here, they love the Tombstone glitching and all that stuff. You know, it's fun. I participated in it. You know, I'd load in, I'd help them get the stuff. I'd give them, you know, whenever I found a legendary tool, ooh, do this and whatever. And we'd have a good couple games going to tier 3, grinding out stuff and doing that. I think this was before. Well, it was kind of around season 1. It was a little before season 1, so I definitely participate. I've got my footage of it, you know. I never set up any tombstones myself. I never duplicated anything myself because I'm not a big fan of glitches. I really like feeling and experiencing the natural progression of the game. And I think that's something of note here because it was really fun at first, and my friends, we had a lot of fun. It was really cool because we were stuck in tier 2, we were stuck in tier 1 and 2, and oh my goodness, how do we get a purple tool? How do we get a triple pack-a-punch gun? And then to finally get it and to spawn with it, it was really cool to see that next level of zombie. So it was fun at the time, but something interesting happened. After a while, they got really bored. They were like, this is really easy because now all we have is like golden armor and ether blades every game, and tier 3 is kind of a joke now, and it's not really that difficult, and what is there to do? And how, you know, what's that they're missing that progression. They're missing that feeling of desire, of want, of, hey, I used this item. I want to get that item back. Hey, I can't use this item every game. I've got to save it for something special. There is a lot of weight and I guess psychology, you could say, behind that gameplay mechanic. And so and for one, we're talking about the Tombstone glitching here. I don't know if they're going to be able to fix it. I saw a Glitching Queen video and she was very confident one time. She was like, I don't think they're ever going to be able to prevent us from duping this or that, but I don't know. But I do hope that they get it fixed soon because I do think in terms of the overall quality of Modern Warfare Zombies, it's kind of a net negative. And that might have just made me public enemy number 1 here because it's a glitch that people do themselves. How dare you criticize how other people play the game? I totally get it. And if this were a solo experience, be my guest, whatever. You know, it doesn't affect me. You're absolutely right. However, there is some minor ways that this affects people. Obviously, if you're spawning in with the best stuff every single game, you're going straight to tier 3, you're getting all of that loot, you're getting in there before the natural progression of the game. But then you could argue, how do you know they're glitching versus spawning in with that stuff? I totally get it. But I think in terms of the bigger picture here, even if it doesn't affect me, which I don't think it affects me very much, it kind of annoys me of all the begging, I should say, you know, in the chat and everything where people are just like, hey, can you help me with my tombstone? Hey, can you drop money? Hey, can you drop these really expensive items? It's like, what if you just like, I don't know, played the game the way it's supposed to be played? But anyway, that's just kind of a personal thing. It's not really like a philosophical thing. But I do really believe that quote that I said earlier, where it's the developer's jobs to protect you from yourself. And if you dupe these items and you get comfortable with these items and you always play this game with these items, when or if they take it away, you're going to be very behind. You're going to be like, oh my goodness, I don't have this stuff. Now what do I do? Now you have to catch up with the rest of us who've been playing it and practicing it and getting good naturally. And it is worth mentioning that a lot of the main driving factor of playing this game mode is getting schematics. And as embarrassing as this is, because, you know, YouTuber, you know, you should be the best and whatever, I still don't have the Scorcher schematic, so I need to fight that stupid red worm again. And I still can't figure out how to beat the escort in the Elder Dark Aether. I went in this last time, I was recording a video, I got like 10 Casimirs, I was fully prepped, ready to go. I fought four mega abominations before like the second run of the ACV was even done. Before it was even shooting the plasma at the thing, I had to fight 2 mega abominations before I even started the escort, and then 2 spawned in during the first leg of the escort contract. So I still don't have the Ether Blade case. I'm still down those schematics, but the point of that was that that is a goal that I still have. That's a reason why I keep playing the game. As I'm doing this next couple videos, you're gonna notice, hey, Donuts is going into the Dark Aether. Hey, Donuts is getting this Ether Blade case. Hey, Donuts is looking for an Elder Sigil. I wonder why. Like, I'm slowly progressing my character up. It's not necessarily RNG. I'm looking and seeking for things in the right areas so that way I can get that schematic. However, all of that fun, all of that replayability and that building up of your character, that DMZ style of like, I'm going to put stuff in my stash, I'm going to get stronger and I'm going to go on better and better runs. all of that disappears when someone just goes, hey, here's this Ether Blade schematic. Oh, cool. Now I don't have to do that. Now I don't have to engage with part of the game that I bought and paid $60 for, $70 for. That doesn't make any sense. It would be like playing or getting a campaign and then just being like, hey, can somebody beat this campaign for me? Hey, can somebody just get me to the end boss? Hey, can somebody just give me God mode in this campaign? Sure, it doesn't affect me, but I feel like the sentiment around Modern Warfare Zombies is going to be affected because everyone's just giving away all of these schematics and, well, I have it now, so what's the point of playing this boring game? It's like, well, you didn't really give it the right chance. You didn't really engage with it the way the developers engaged or meant for you to engage with it. Like I said, it's your thing, it's your whatever. If you are okay with that, if that's fine with you, then whatever. I'm not going to chastise you about it all that much, but that's kind of my thoughts. I know I feel that way. If I was just, I think somebody did have, Beebs or somebody had like a schematic or something that I needed. And I was like, no, I want to get it the legit way. And not to be like an elitist about it either. I hope that's not coming across that way. It's not like oh, I'm better than you. But it's more of like like I want that satisfaction. And that's like something so cool. Oh, here it is. I got it. It's Minecraft doing it survival or doing it in creative. You can get, 1,000 diamonds in creative mode really easily. But if you get 1,000 diamonds in survival, it's way more satisfying. Yeah, it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to be a little bit more tedious, but it's way more rewarding if you get it in survival the legitimate way. That's a good metaphor. I like it. It's a good comparison, Donuts. Good job. But there is an interesting discussion to be had here about it because it's been a while. I love talking about it on this podcast. But there was another podcast episode with Doom Eternal is one of my favorite video games of all time. And one of the game design directors, Hugo Martin, did a podcast with, I believe, NoClip is their name. And he talked about how all video games force you to play in a certain way. Even though they say, hey, play whatever your way, even in Modern Warfare Zombies, when it's this open sandbox, you can do whatever you want, that game still has rules. This game still has rules. If you try to go to tier 3 with a gray weapon, you're going to have a hard time with no perks and no upgrades, whatever. It's going to be a hard time. You can maybe kind of do it a little bit, but like not very effectively. You're going to need all this other stuff. So the game forces you to play in a certain way. And I very much like that. I think crafting that experience has way more impact on, or potential impact positively on players than just letting players do whatever they want. And Doom Eternal, if you've ever played Doom Eternal, that game holds you accountable. That game makes you play a certain way. Much like Modern Warfare Zombies makes you play a certain way. It makes you go, nope, you need to upgrade that. Nope, you need this perk. Nope, you need to do that. Tier 2 zombies are no joke. I remember when I was first playing this, a couple of the early videos you'll see of that Outlast contract and weapon XP thing I was doing. They were super sprinters. I had like a blue tool and pack 1 and I was like getting overwhelmed. Like this game forces you and holds you accountable. It's one of my favorite things about it. I feel like it's so much more balanced than Cold War, even though it's the same systems. I feel like they did something, and it's probably because there's no like extra tiers on all the field upgrades and perks and all that stuff. But I very much love it when games hold you accountable, because it means that there's a very structured and kind of correct solution to whatever puzzle they're presenting you. Now, hopefully that game's good enough that it still allows you the freedom to complete that puzzle in any which way you want. And I definitely feel like the contracts are like exactly that. I feel like this is the best iteration of objective-based modes into zombies we've ever seen by a country mile. Like going back to Outbreak, which I'm definitely going to do this year, it's going to feel weird because it's like just doing a contract progresses the rounds, which is an interesting take. And that's the first take you would think of in a zombies mode with objectives. But this take, this looter shooter, now extraction shooter with just optional contracts is super, super good. It keeps that openness. It keeps that sandbox. But also once you engage with those contracts, once you engage with those missions and objectives, that's when it holds you accountable. So it's this really brilliant balance of everything. You could go to the Dark Aether if you want. You could stay in tier 1 all game if you want. But once you go into the Dark Aether, we're going to hold you accountable. And I absolutely love that. And, that's just my spinoff. Tombstone, you kind of miss that. You miss out on that. So I completely understand, though. If that's fun for you, it's fun for you. It's not like a knock thing. I'm not going to, like my friends do it. It's perfectly fine. It's just a silly video game. But philosophically, it's kind of like, ooh, I like earning it, the satisfaction and the cool balance of engaging with the game systems. It's really fun. And I hope, you guys don't miss out on that because you're like, oh, I just want to play with this Ether Blade or something, I don't know. Now, as we sit here on the crux of season 2, there's a lot of uncertainty about this mode. Like we said at the beginning of the podcast here, Treyarch is rumored to have stepped down from Modern Warfare Zombies, and it will be, we believe, Infinity Ward / Sledgehammer, kind of updating this guy. And a lot of people are upset, like, oh my goodness, they're just abandoning this. You know, this is just like DMZ. But DMZ is still pretty darn good. If you ask me, it's still pretty fun. I see a lot of people still playing it and everything. I know it's kind of hard with no missions and story stuff and whatever. But that being said, the potential of this mode, even if Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, even if this game, this map, this whatever, isn't like the fullest potential it can be, this has really, really high limits that it could reach. And I just want to go down a list of a couple of things here that was in DMZ, and I think I might make this a video in the future if you guys like it a lot. There's a lot of things that DMZ added post-launch. I remember playing DMZ at launch at, you know, November 4th or whatever it came out. And I was like, okay, like I get it, but I kind of don't understand, like, what's the point of this? What's there to do? I don't really like it. I remember thinking this would be cool in Zombies. I was right. But then later coming back in like season 5 or season 6 or whatever, I was like, whoa, what is this? This is all new. This is stuff I can engage with. This is definitely new things. And there's so many things that could just blow the lid open in Modern Warfare Zombies. We could exfil with legendary tools, and you can craft legendary tools. Like, there's so many ideas. Let's get into them. First things first, you get the typical zombie stuff. We could get more field upgrades. I think Ring of Fire, Toxic Growth. I think they're going to be in a future update somehow. There's rumored to be more perks. Mule Kit coming, even though you could just make the large backpack have 3 weapons. I feel like that would be a lot easier than just adding in a perk. Electric Cherry, definitely sorely missed. Because Elemental Pop used to be that, but now Electric Cherry is its own perk, which would be really nice to have, especially in the Dark Aether. That'd be awesome. Widow's Wine, also an interesting comeback. I feel like I would prefer Winter's Wail if you're asking me. Hey, Sledgehammer or Raven or Infinity Ward, if you're listening, Winter's Wail I think would be good. But also, we do have Frost Blast, and Frost Blast is basically essentially like a better Winter's or a Widow's Wine, isn't it? Because you can activate it whenever you want to. I guess you don't get the grenades, but it's a weird thing to put in there. These are leaks, by the way. These are leaks that I've seen on Twitter and everywhere. I think most people have seen them, but those are the rumored 3 perks to have been released. But those might not be exactly true, because I have a feeling that the field upgrades and the perks are going to have a similar system to the passive upgrades that were in DMZ. See, passive upgrades were little in-game challenges like extract with 5 gold bars, extract with 5 gold skulls, and you would unlock the ability to have a wallet, and then you would extract with all your money and all that sort of good stuff. So, well, I think a wallet's coming too. I think that's been leaked for a while now. But I think there's going to be ways that through doing certain challenges, you can rank up your perks so that when you buy them, they're at a different rank and they're stronger. And maybe Electric Cherry is partly attached to Elemental Pop, and you know, part of the code is just there. Maybe Widow's Wine is just an upgraded Frost Blast or something, and that's where field upgrades get a little bit. Because I don't know about you, but perks and field upgrades, they feel pretty darn weak to me in this game mode. They feel pretty weak. Now, I know Michael does stuff, commenter on my videos and moderator in my Discord, link in the description. He loves challenge. He loves just the hardest thing ever. Make it harder, make it more difficult. That'd be awesome. And he hated how Cold War ended up being super easy. But I could very much see very similar to Cold War, where we're getting all of these tiered effects of these perks and getting a little bit more depth with them, as well as the more depth of the field upgrades, where, you know, Frost Blast, like, why would you use Frost Blast instead of Energy Mine? Why would you use Frenzied Guard instead of Aether Shroud? By the way, why doesn't Aether Shroud work against Mercenaries? I guess they could still technically see you, but like, that just, no, I want them to not be able to see you. Like, Mercenaries would be a lot better if Aether Shroud worked against them. But like, Frenzied Guard used to slow down enemies in the vicinity, and it used to explode when they would touch you, and that would be so cool to have. And those sorts of elements would kind of help with those solo players doing those ACV escort contracts in the Dark Aether, just saying. But you know, Tesla Storm is really good, I guess. But other than that, it'd be really cool to see those passive upgrades being able to upgrade our perks and our field upgrades, just like we could back in Cold War. Apart from that stuff, in Season 2, at least I think it was Season 2 of DMZ, we got Ashika Island, and we're forgetting that we could just have an entirely new map of this same style of Modern Warfare Zombies mode, which we're going to have to come up with a name for this style of mode, because just saying Modern Warfare Zombies is not going to be good enough for the future. It's like Vanguard Zombies. That Vanguard Zombies has that problem, whatever. But thinking about different maps, like, it's cool to think about different maps, but also there's like a lot more potential for different maps, because think about this right now in Urzikstan, the tier 3 area is on a center island, which, by the way, beautiful, absolutely love it. It feels really imposing. It feels like it was made almost just for zombies, because it is on an island and you're like, whoa, like, this works really well as like the tier 3 area. But imagine a different map, like, I think we're getting Fortune's Keep and Alcatraz Island. I forget what it's called. It's Alcatraz Island. Imagine the tier 3 area is in like the side of the map or in the corner of the map, and the Aether Storm expands to the tier 3 area, and you have to exfil in the tier 3 area. There's so many things just by moving around these pieces that change how we played this mode. That could be like the super challenging area. Maybe they do come out with these passive upgrades, and maybe it breaks the game balance. This game is super easy. Cool. Go to, I was going to say Ashika Island. Go to Fortune's Keep, where everything's tier 3. There is no tier 1. It's all tier 2, and then up here's tier 3 or whatever. And you have to exfil in the tier 3 area, and then you go into the Dark Aether, and like, oh, it's so cool. They've already added that one area from the Albagra Fortress, which is amazing, and the Dark Aether, one of the best skyboxes in the game. They've already added that, and that's all Dark Aether. That's a fun thing. They could do so much more with so many different maps, and all. It's just, it's so exciting to see. It's so exciting to think about. And then you start to think about in the future, they could work from the ground up to make an entirely zombified map with this stuff, with zombie-specific locations. You could have Nocturne and Toten. You could have, you know, your usual zombie maps that I'm completely blanking about, like Ascension. You could have Kino der Toten. You could have, what's a Black Ops 2 one? Like Transit. You could actually have Transit just in a map somewhere, and that's just part of the locations, and it could all be zombie-related stuff. It could be so cool, the amount of maps that we get here. Now, there's some stuff from DMZ that I don't think we're really going to get a good thing with, like the like Stealth Vest or Medic Vest. Like, it's just different types of vests with like perks on it, so I don't know if that'll be coming. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I do like the idea of like a tempered vest where it's already in Warzone. You know, it only takes 2 armor plates to get completely full on your armor. I do like that idea. But with that, there could be, and I think this could happen legitimately, a bartering system. Bartering was really huge in DMZ. All of that useless junk that you find everywhere, you could pick that up, and with the right combinations, it would give you like a medic vest. You know, if you got like aspirin and tape and a screwdriver, then you could get a stealth vest or something like that. And that, I think, could be how they bring in a way to craft or obtain legendary ether tools, because you go to this bartering system and you have a pack-a-punch crystal, a green ether tool, and a blue ether tool. Boom, you combine all of them, you get one legendary ether tool. That would be awesome. Or even if it was simple as like 2 greens equals a blue, 2 blues equal a purple, and 2 purples equal a legendary, that would be awesome. I feel like that would be really cool. And just that sort of in-game bartering system would be really nice. We had it in DMZ. I would love to see it here. You know, finding these random useless junk, and then you can make a perk out of it, and you can store the perk and all this stuff. Like, there's so much potential for it. And then there's what is that? What's that called? The workbench, or whatever workbench, like weaponsmith bench there, where you can change and manipulate your weapons in game. I think that would be an awesome way. I wish I had better footage of it in DMZ, but it was just a workbench. It pulls up the armory system. What do you call that? The create a class little menu there, and you can take certain attachments off. But for Modern Warfare Zombies, wouldn't it be cool if it popped you in there, and then you could, like, for a certain amount of points or essence, you could take off the legendary tool and you could put it in your backpack, or put it on another weapon, or take off the Pack-a-Punch 3 for a certain amount of points, and then you had the crystal moving forward. And like, that's the stuff that you could do. You go crazy with this stuff. You could have, oh my goodness, there was that one backpack where it let you take, what was it called? I don't even remember. It was a backpack that let you exfil everything as it was. Like, instead of getting out of your backpack entirely, it would save everything in your backpack, so you can go back in with like self-revives and stuff. And if you did that, what was it called? The secure backpack. The secure backpack. Wouldn't it be cool if we had a secure backpack and it had a weapon slot in it like DMZ had, and you could put your one weapon in there, and that one weapon would retain its legendary or its rarity and its pack-a-punch status. So you could keep at least that one weapon always in there all the time. That would fit perfectly in this sandbox where you can't exfil every single weapon, and if you put it out of your backpack, it'll lose it. But within that secure backpack, it keeps and retains that pack-a-punch and rarity. Oh, that would be so cool. And in terms of the engine or whatever, it was in DMZ, so why can't it be in here? And of course, one of everybody's favorite things to complain about, and something that I kind of dislike too a little bit, it doesn't affect me too much, is the cooldowns. I can't believe we've gone this long without talking about the cooldown system once you get the schematics. Everyone's in a big fit about it, and I understand it's pretty annoying about the schematics. But I thought the game should work like I suggested in that video, where you just find stuff and you exfil with as many as you want, and there's just no schematics. But we do have schematics. They have a cooldown timer. In order to reduce that cooldown timer, everybody's saying, oh, the exfil points, the exfil XP. No. because in DMZ, they had something called dead drops, and dead drops let you put specific items in these dumpsters, and it would reduce the cooldown time on your insured weapon slot. Well, we already have the reduced cooldown time on your insured weapon slot mechanic with the points here in Modern Warfare Zombies. So what would be the point of the dead drops? Well, if you could put all of your special items in the dead drops, then maybe it could reduce the cooldown time on your schematic, so that way you could sacrifice your blue tools and your purple crystals and your PAP2 crystals and your whatever deadbolt turrets and whatever, you could sacrifice them in there, and then it would reduce the cooldown timer on your golden armor plates or your legendary ether tool. Like, oh, that would be so cool, and it would be really balanced because you're sacrificing this in order to get reduced cool time on that. There's so many things they could do here. And then of course with the passive upgrades, they let you increase your stash size. That was definitely one of those things in there. There's that wallet that lets you spawn in with money. There seems to be rumored to be coming, there's going to be kind of that exfil streak. But rather than just straight up exfils, it's going to be how many contracts you've completed in a row. So once you get certain contracts completed, after like 30, you get like 1,500 points and a 30% reduction and like perk stuff, and even more contracts in a row without dying and successfully exfilling. You can get like reduction in pack-a-punch cost and mystery box cost and more points to spawn in with. All of that sort of stuff. Brilliant, beautiful. I love that it's in here. It was in DMZ. If everything that was in DMZ just transfers over to Modern Warfare Zombies, it's going to be a pretty darn good year. Plus, I know we're going to get more contracts, more bosses, more weapons, more wonder weapons, all of this stuff, more schematics. I think there's a bright future ahead for Modern Warfare Zombies, at least in terms of the gameplay. Because thinking about the story, I remember making a short, and I remember talking about it in a video, saying like, you know, the Cold War story is kind of underrated. It's kind of pretty cool if you think about it. And this here is interesting, right? Like watching the first 3 story missions, I'm like, oh, what's going on? Watching the last story mission, the Act 3 story mission, and seeing the giant worm and, you know, what's her name, Jansen with the purple eyes and everything, that was really cool. I really liked that cutscene. But then the Act 4 cutscene happened with After That Aether Worm, and oh my goodness, that cutscene is one of my favorites of the Dark Aether universe. I love the Forsaken cutscene. I think the Forsaken is like the best one of the new timeline and whatever. But this one was a close second. Having Jansen hallucinate all those zombies and then slice off Ravenov, and then it's all a dream, and there is actually a denizen noise in there, a little Easter egg that they've been putting in there for years. I love that so much, and it was really fun and intriguing and engaging. And then I realized I don't really know what's going on. You see, I play this game, I hear the quotes all the time, but there's just a huge, severe disconnect between what's going on in the story and what we're experiencing as players. And I am for sure aware that Treyarch and everybody is tired of hearing about operators and how, my goodness, operators are ruining zombies. But I tell you what, sometimes I forget the characters' names. Sometimes I don't even know who is Jansen or Ravenov or Weaver. Like, sometimes I forget. But when I watch that Act 4 cutscene, I get excited about zombies again. I get excited about theorizing. What could this mean? What could you do that? And then I play the game, and it seems so disconnected from what I just watched, where it's just a different tone, it's different people, it's different things. I don't know, like, I don't have an emotional connection with who this girl is. I don't know where she comes from. I don't know what her deal is. It's just, when we played Blood of the Dead, when we played 9 or Mob of the Dead, we experienced exactly what those characters experienced. And so when a cutscene came about, when we saw Richtofen die, when we saw these characters going through these things in Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4, in 9, you hear them talk, you hear the dialogue going, is this a dream? What happens if we die? What are we doing here? And then you see them at the end fighting for their lives, and then they get beheaded. It's an emotional event because your experience is exactly what they are experiencing. When I see a cutscene about Dr. Jansen and she has this hallucination, I don't know where she's at. She's clearly not out here fighting with me. And in that one Act 3 story mission, she was just NPCing her way around and not actually helping me fight the worm at all. So there's no emotional correlation between the gameplay that I'm playing and my emotional connection for these characters at all. When I watch the cutscene, it's cool, it's awesome. I want to engage with that story. But when I play the Modern Warfare 3 game, I am not engaging with that story. Whereas in the past, when I watched Blood of the Dead's end cutscene, I could play Blood of the Dead again, and I could resonate with that cutscene. I could learn more about those characters, and I could empathize and understand those characters way more than I ever could playing Modern Warfare 3 Zombies or even Cold War Zombies. There is a huge loss in emotional investment when we only have operators and when the gameplay is so different than the storyline. I love that Act 4 story. I love what it means. I love the theorizing, but nobody's talking about it. And I think nobody's talking about it, not because it's bad, not because people don't like it, but maybe because people just, it's not in their brain. Sometimes I forget the cutscene's even there until I beat the worm again and I go, oh yeah, there's this awesome cutscene right here. So it's just not as in front of us as it needs to be. The storyline isn't front and center. Yes, technically there's events and characters and Barrera making funny jokes and he's great, but like, it's just not as present. It's just not as soulful, I guess. And I don't know if this style of game mode is ever going to get there, but keep making those awesome storyline cutscenes because I'm sure in the future they're going to pay off. I'm sure we'll eventually get there, hopefully. And now let's have the typical conversation that always has to pop up about Modern Warfare 3 Zombies here. It isn't round-based. I just want to set the record straight. I am happy that this is not round-based, and I firmly believe that we should not get round-based at all this year. Everything needs to be put on pause for Gulf War or for 2024, whatever Treyarch's title is going to be. Not because I hate round-based. In fact, I love round-based so much I cannot wait to go back to round-based. I can't wait to play Ancient Evil and Dead of the Night and Shadows of Evil. I can't wait to do that. I've got some fantastic videos later this year or whenever we feel like going back to those classic maps. I've got some great content for you. But what is best for the developers right now? What's best for Treyarch? What's best for the Call of Duty title in general right now is just to ride this wave of Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. One, because it's less development time for a round-based map for Treyarch or whoever's going to make it or throw it together. Two, this is a pretty darn fun mode, and there's so much more they could do with this that why not play around with it? Why not spend as much development time on this mode as possible? Because it's really darn fun. But also I've heard people say like, you know, why not cut out a slice of Urzikstan and just make it round-based? Like that's pretty easy. And like, I have no doubt that that would be possible. I have no doubt, you know, they literally stopped production in Vanguard to make a round-based map with Shinonuma. So I'm sure it's possible to develop some bare bones standard round-based map in a couple months and we can get it for like season 3 or season 4 or something like that. But really ask yourself, is that what you want? Like, yes, in terms of gameplay, absolutely. Yeah, you love round-based. Yeah, we love this. We love doing that. And it's really fun and addicting. And the mode is fantastic. But is that cutout of the Urzikstan map? Is that little bit there going to be the round-based that you really want? Because the round-based that I really want, I want Shadows of Evil. I want Ancient Evil. I want 9. I want Voyage of Despair. As crazy as that sounds, I want the atmosphere and the story and the characters and the dialogue and the intricate designs and Easter eggs. I want that back. And I don't think a cutout of Urzikstan in this Modern Warfare engine is going to be that. I think that would be a terrible round-based map. I don't think that would be to the standard that we should hold round-based maps to. Cold War like got chastised over reusing campaign missions for zombies, even though it's still new to zombies. It's from the campaign, yeah, but who cares? It's new to zombies. If they were to take a part of this Urzikstan map and just pluck it as a round-based thing, I think it would be cheap. I think it would be a waste of resources. I don't think it'd be there, especially when we know 99% sure, I really hope so, that round-based is coming back this year. Like, we just need to be patient here. And this is a great opportunity because this game is so vastly different than round-based. This could be really good for zombies as a whole. It's rumored that Call of Duty is going to a 4-year development cycle. It sounds like it's going to be a primary Infinity Ward title with a minor sequel developed by maybe Sledgehammer, and then a major Treyarch title, and then a minor sequel to that developed by, I think, Raven or somebody. So it's kind of this like 2 years every 2 years kind of cycle here, like a 4-year development cycle, sort of how Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, then we're going to get a Black Ops and then a Black Ops and then something else and something, you know, that sort of thing. If that's true, this cycle of zombies could be really good in terms of quality and quantity. If this year we get Modern Warfare Zombies and just straight Modern Warfare Zombies, and then we get round-based zombies, and we get that for a year, and it's totally focused like Black Ops 3, Black Ops 4 level of round-based stuff, absolutely amazing with new mechanics and new stuff, and it's fresh and it's awesome. And then we get a Black Ops sequel with maybe like Onslaught or Rush or Grief or some spin-off modes, maybe a map or two here and there. and then we get an off mode because it's, Modern Warfare, so Modern Warfare has Spec Ops or whatever, and then the next year after that, we get another Modern Warfare Zombies type thing. That's 3 years since the last round-based. Now, round-based hasn't been around for a time. Boom, we get round-based back again. It's fresh, it's new, it's innovative, and it's not repetitive, and this could be so refreshing for the community, for the developers, for everybody involved. And you might be concerned, you might be wondering, Donuts, why wouldn't you want round-based every single time we get zombies? Zombies is round-based. It's not zombies if it's not round-based. And that's two philosophical questions right there. One, can zombies, and this is a genuine question for you, can zombies be more than just round-based? Because if you ask me, I think it has to, and I think it's had to be that for a lot longer than the community might realize. I can't remember this, but I have this memory of listening to, I think it was the Zombros podcast, talking to Jason Blundell again. I have to watch that episode. I think he was saying that like Black Ops 3 needed different game modes, or somebody did. Maybe Reed was saying, hey, Black Ops 3 is great with all the maps and stuff, but there's not like that grief mode. There's not like that turn mode in Black Ops 2 that needs different modes. It needs different ways of playing. And so Black Ops 4 comes out with Rush and Gauntlet, and that's different, but maybe not quite different enough. So Cold War comes out, and boom, we get Outbreak and Onslaught, a little bit more different, but also a little bit more successful. And here, that leads us to Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, where it's so different, so crazy different, but it also works really well. It is different enough that it is not the same feeling of zombies. You capture a different audience that loves it, but it's different to round-based. And this sounds pretty bad. This sounds like, as a round-based fan, you're like, oh my goodness, it's different people, different fans that are going to ruin round-based. No, what this could mean is that if we want the operators and all that stuff, all of the, I know a lot of people are like, they want bundles and us to buy bundles. If we want that, have them have Modern Warfare Zombies. But all of these people could stay and have Modern Warfare Zombies, but then that means they could focus on the art and the more stylistic choices and the difficulty of round-based zombies. Now we can separate these things and really let them flourish in their own unique ways. Because Modern Warfare Zombies, or whatever we're gonna call it, like, you could have this brand new round-based thing, and then you could just retroactively fit all of the wonder weapons and all the monsters and bosses in that open world of whatever game we're gonna call it. We saw that with Outbreak, We got a new map came out, the regular Abomination came out in Forsaken, and they just retroactively, oh, no, now it's an Outbreak. Now you can play it in Outbreak too. Like that, having both of those things is awesome. But still, Donuts, why not have round-based all the time? Wouldn't it be better if we had round-based every single year? Well, I would argue, no, I don't think it would be good to have round-based every single year. Now, I know that's hard to believe, Zombies YouTuber doesn't think zombies should be every year. I think it is healthy, both for the gamers, the players, and the developers, to have some time off of developing the game or playing the game or whatever, so you can digest a little bit. The year we had with Modern Warfare 2 2022, we were able to go back and really digest what we thought of these maps and these modes and what these games were doing, and having that time to chew on those modes, to chew on those maps, and to understand what maybe or recognize something that we didn't see before. It gave us time to appreciate it. I know it gave me time. I went back and I did some more Easter eggs. I know I went back and I played World War II Zombies. I did the Final Reich Easter egg. Like, I never would have done that if I was just constantly bombarded with new stuff here, new stuff here, new stuff here. But on top of that, I think there's a level of quality, I guess I will say, quality that diminishes if everything is made every single year. Here's a better way of saying it. If they made round-based every single year, I believe that those maps might be less inspired. Cold War Zombies, I would argue even Vanguard's round-based maps, and Modern Warfare as a whole, Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, mechanically, really good games. Like, mechanically, Cold War's awesome. It's really fun. Noah J tweeted out, like, the day Cold War came out, this is the future of zombies. This is like the best feeling zombies ever. Mechanically, Cold War is awesome. But in terms of inspiration, in terms of art style, in terms of, I don't want to say like passion or heart or whatever, because clearly the developers have passion and heart for this. Like, I'm not saying that they don't, but the maps themselves, they feel a little bland. They don't feel inspired. They don't feel like, oh, I have this big vision of this theming going on and I want to do this and it's going to have this on it. When you go back and you play Voyage of Despair and Mob of the Dead and Origins, there's clear theming and a purpose behind those maps and an emotion that you get when you play those maps. And when you play, I would say, even Mauer der Toten, yeah, the mood is cool, but it doesn't feel inspired. It doesn't feel like, oh, Ancient Evil, you're in the stadium and you're in this thing on 9 and you're underground in Ancient Evil and the whatever they call it. Like, that is what I want from Zombies. And I think that would be lost if we got round-based every year, even if they were developed by different developers, because they would just be constantly on this grind to keep making the same content over and over again. And I kind of have proof of this, proof not proof you could argue here, because every single year in Call of Duty, we get a new 6v6 mode. And I love Call of Duty 6v6. I really do. I think it's my favorite way of playing Call of Duty, you know, apart from Zombies, but in terms of multiplayer, it's my favorite way of playing. And because we've gotten it every single year, it's way less special now. Like, Modern Warfare 2 was a couple changes away from being like one of my favorite Modern Warfare games ever. Modern Warfare 3 doesn't have a lot wrong with it, but it's not super hype because we've got like 20 other Call of Duties we can play. So it's not all that special. It's kind of a supply-demand thing too, where like we have such a big supply of 6v6 modes that each individual one is kind of less special. And so I don't ever want to get to the point where we have like 1,000 round-based maps and they're all pretty okay and they're all not bad. I don't want there to be that. I want there to be fewer, better maps. I want there to be quality over quantity. One of my favorite franchises of all time is the Metroid franchise. I love Metroid so much, and Metroid Dread came out recently. I say recently, a couple years ago, and it's one of the best Metroid games ever. And if Metroid released a new game every single year, I don't think Metroid would be that special. Or, you know, replace whatever your favorite, you know, Halo. If Halo released every year, it would not be special. They've only made 6 mainline entries, and Call of Duty's made like 20 in the same time span and whatnot. I love round-based maps, I really do. But and it's not even like an oversaturated thing too, because when we did get them every year, Infinite Warfare, World War II Zombies, those were good zombie games. But if we had round-based maps every single year since then, we'd have like 6 more years of round-based content. And by right now, we wouldn't be as eager for the next one because, well, we have all of these other ones and it's just less special. And this could be terrible, like, bias and nostalgic anecdotal evidence, but like back in the day, in the golden era of Call of Duty, when Black Ops 2 came out, when even Call of Duty Ghost came out, or Advanced Warfare, and then even the Advanced Movement games, and then World War II, it felt as though those games were inspired. It felt like those developers were like, I have an idea, I want to make this game. As opposed to what I think we've been feeling now, especially lately with like Cold War Zombies, Vanguard Zombies, Modern Warfare Zombies, where it's like, oh, instead of being inspired and go, I have an idea for a game, it's the other way around. It's, hey, we need to make this game. Does anybody have any ideas? It's not as inspirational as it should be. And of course, it's not always like that. That's not how creativity flows and whatnot, but it just felt like there was purpose and there was really meaningful, hey, I have this new way of playing Call of Duty. Hey, I have this new round-based idea. You know, Black Ops 3 was very innovative. Black Ops 4, innovative. Cold War, innovative. I don't want to lose that. And I predict if we were to get round-based every single year, it would be pretty formulaic. It would grow to become less inspired and less impactful. Now, with all of that being said, because it has been so long since a round-based map, that means that 2024 Zombies is so highly anticipated. It's so highly anticipated, there's no way they're going to meet everybody's expectations. So I will do a future podcast about what 2024 needs to get right in order to be successful, but this is an incredibly fun time to be a Zombies fan. We got a surprise hit with Modern Warfare Zombies. It is less than 10 months away right now, less than 10 months, and we're going to be playing the next, hopefully, rendition of a 4-year development cycle round-based experience. It could be so good, man. I hope it's going to be good. Really high expectations, Trick, if you drop the ball here. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be tough. And if you want to keep listening to me ramble on and on about zombies, believe me, I could go all day. I really could go all day. I've got so many ideas right now on the podcast, and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a good year. Hop on board the hype train of zombies this year. It's gonna be fun. But if you want to listen to more of my beautiful voice talking for hours and hours about zombies on end, be sure to check out the Mystery Box podcast playlist right here. And as always, stay beautiful.